Well, good morning, everyone. Look around the room for a second. Check out your neighbor and even those cute bears. You're looking at God. You want to know what God looked like? That you're looking at God. Today's topic is one God. And everybody kind of goes, yeah, okay. But are you living that way? Am I living that way? We get to ask ourselves. In this teaching, this science of mind teaching, it says that God is a principle. God is not a thing. It is not a person. It is not a being. And probably a majority of us were used to being raised with the thought of a sky god, of a God that's out there that we beseech and that we seek out, and that if we're really good and if we pray really hard, whatever we're praying for will manifest in our experience. And if it doesn't show up, then we just weren't worthy, right? That's the way I was raised. And so undoing that thinking can be a little bit of a stretch sometimes, right? Sometimes I find myself, and I say, no, you get back on center. The God I am is the God I'm living with. It's the same God you're with. But again, it's not a being, it's a principle. And the principle is what this doctrine is based on in Science of Mind, that says there is one power. We may think there's 50 million powers. If your car is running poorly right now, that car has become your God, hasn't it? Right? Because you've put all your energy into it. All of a sudden you're worshiping the car. Please, God, let the engine start, right? Or if you don't have a job, please, God, help me get a job. The job becomes your God. We make many false gods of things that are out there in the world. But this teaching reminds us there's one present. And that presence is omniscient, it's omnipotent, it's all-knowing, it's all-seeing, it's all-being. And it also says we are made in the image and likeness of that presence. So that presence, those attributes, everything that we take on as our knowledge of God is what we are. But I don't think most of us act that way. I don't know about you, but I all of a sudden feel so limited by so many things. We forget, oh, that's right. I have this power that is accessible to me at every moment. We forget that we're all God. I heard that at a Ram Dass workshop, he started the workshop and said, before we begin, there are several people that have come up to me and said that they're going to need a ride back to the hotel after the workshop. So if you're available to give some people a ride back to the hotel, will you please raise your hand? And nobody in the whole place raised their hand. So he goes, I forgot to tell you that some of those people that are looking for the ride, they're Jesus reincarnated. Everybody raised their hand all of a sudden. Because we forget, don't we? We forget that we're one with this power. We forget that we're one with everybody that we're in an experience with, right? Now, we know this omniscience. We know this all-presence. We know that we use it at all times. But are you using it at all times? Sometimes we're using it a little bit backwards, aren't we? We're using it in a limited way. I read a story. There was a man, and he was driving on the PCH, the windy part of PCH up by Big Sur. And he's driving in his convertible, and he's got the top down, and he's all having a good time playing his music. And he's coming up on a hairpin turn. And whoa, around the bend on the hairpin turn is some wild, crazy woman driving a red convertible. She's like raising her fists, and she's in his side of the road. He's like, oh my God. She goes, pig. So he's just like, he pulls off the side of the road. He's like, oh my God, can you believe I'm driving around my old bitch? She's calling me names. I don't even know this woman. So he's like, fine. So he starts the car, goes around the hairpin, and as he gets around the curve, he yells at her. He goes, you sow. So he's now calling at her names, right? So now they've called each other names, and he rounds the bend, and there's a large pig in his lane. We've done that, haven't we? Now, you may not be blessing them in the particular way we're talking about in this teaching, but, that was a gift that gal was giving him. But he didn't take it as a gift. So we forget sometimes, we use this teaching in reverse, don't we, that if we're disturbed, that means we're disturbable. It's not that other person's fault. But sometimes when you're going through stuff, as we all do, because that's what this earth plane is about, right? It's school. It's soul school. So sometimes when we're going through that stuff, we forget, that's right, I have all the power of the universe to use at my disposal. And when we forget it, we get reminded sometimes in a disturbable situation, or we get to remember by what? By going within. Jesus always said the kingdom of God is within. And what that means is that how we see, how we know the world, how we know with our heart, that's how we discover the kingdom of God. We're not going to discover it out there. Although life's lessons, aka conditions, be they tough relationships or lack of job or lack of money or lack of whatever, right? Those conditions can remind us to go back within, and we forget sometimes that we get to ask ourselves, am I willing to let go of where I'm at right now in order to become who I'm meant to be? Think about that. Am I willing to let go of who I am right at this moment that may have some limited thinking in order to become who I was meant to be? They tell us that in creative thought, in our creative mind principle, there's a triune nature. And they call it as spirit, as mind, and body, right? And some people go, what does all that mean? That sounds like gobbledygook. Well, if you're a gardener, it would be the seed, it would be the garden, and the body would be the flower. Or if you're an IT guy, it would be your computer, and then it would be the program you're using, like Microsoft Suite, and the outcome would be the printout, right? But it's all the same thing, that triune of saying, we always create things twice. We create things in our mind, and then it's created in form. But in order for it to be created in form, we have to think about it. But do we actually create anything? No, we don't. Is there anything to heal? No, there isn't. If there's one power, if there's one law, if there's one almighty, ever-knowing presence, do we have to tell God what to do to create the greatness in our experience? No. But we do have to tell ourselves, don't we? So that's the importance of going within and knowing, there's a God here that is at my disposal. Am I using it to its fullest? Or am I going, oh, God, you can't believe the day I had today. This guy was screaming and yelling at me, and man, it just threw me off my rocker, right? Remember, instead of going to God and telling God how big your problem is, go to your problem and tell your problem how big God is. Go back and say, you know what? Even though this looks like complete chaos and I'm completely in a mess right now, there's not a word of truth in it. Now, someone may say, okay, Pollyanna, you have a great time, because you'll have friends out there that'll say, but wait a minute, what about this and what about... Don't listen to them. Do not listen to them. Because guess what? The answer is not out there. The answer is here. And how do you get to that answer? By getting quiet, by getting still, by knowing the truth of who you are as you are, God in expression. Now, it may not always seem like it at the time, that mind is always working, but how we dial into it and how we know it as ours is by how we express it in our experience, right? So if God isn't showing up for you in your life, you can't raise your fist and yell at God, I sure wish you'd show up. And God's going, gosh, I sure wish you'd show up. Doesn't he? God, I sure wish you'd show up, doesn't she? Doesn't she say it? Right? It does happen that way all the time. We think nothing about when our telephones are running dead, that we plug it in, right? Because we got to charge up. Oh, my battery's low. I got to charge it up. What about charging up to God? Charging and going, you know what? I'm feeling a little out of sorts, and I'm starting to feel, when you're in that funk. When you're in that, oh, man, this is like life has gone to hell in a handbasket right today, and you know it. So what you do is stop right where you are, and you say, how am I the expression of God right now? What is God doing by means of me? How is that expression happening in my experience? And you want to know that, guess what? I'm experiencing exactly what I'm thinking into my being. So if I don't like what I'm seeing, I can recreate it. I can start again, can't I? So think about this. When you go out to the ocean or somewhere like the mountains, right? You feel like you're a small atom in this giant cosmic world, don't you? You're aware of it. You're aware of the smallness of you and the greatness of the universe, right? But what that greatness in the universe is doing is saying, wake up, wake up. You came here to be a great person. You came here to have amazing success. I am totally in your camp and want to bring you all this stuff. I have more riches than you can ever receive. And you know what it is? Be open and receptive to it, because that's life pulling you to say, come to be the greatness that you came to be, and I am supporting you in that. And so it is. All righty. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome up Reverend Louisa.
Thank you, Reverend Mary. Yeah, another round of applause. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Have you ever done your practices, your spiritual practices, your meditation, or tried to, your yoga, if you do yoga, and thought everybody else can do it, not me? Pilates can be very daunting. Tried really good nutrition, to drink juices or eat your greens or whatever it may be. And then don't forget our affirmations. I trust in the process of life. I am healthy. I'm happy. I'm abundant. And they just aren't working. Anybody else? Am I alone there? Because I have definitely been there before. And maybe that's when we do our forgiveness work, the forgiveness practices. And guess what? Maybe those aren't working either. So then what? We start over. We do our practices because we trust this teaching. We trust that we are spiritual beings. And maybe this time, it's still not working. So we stop. We just stop. And what happens then? It's like we fall off that inner cliff. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but I have. And you just feel like you're falling off the cliff. Where is God in this chaos? Where is God in this upheaval? Where is God? It's right here. It's in our hearts. It's in our souls. It's all there is. Spirit is all there is. So why this angst? Why this anger? Why this resentment? What's going on? And then you're told, surrender. And you go, if another minister or practitioner tells me to just surrender, I am going to slap him. Right? Do they know what I'm going through? Do they see me? Do they see me? Haven't we all been there before? Just yearning to be seen. Just the way we are. Our version, us. In those moments, we go back to our practices, and we remember that spirit is freedom, that we have a freedom of choice, that we are one of God. Imagine God as the entire cosmos, and the whole ocean is God, the whole ocean of the cosmos beyond our understanding. And we are of it. We are not all of it, but we are of it. We are of God. So we go back to our practices. And then again, we go deeper because we're called to go deeper. And when we do that, there may again be some angst or some resentment, because you see others and they just look like they're floating through life, and they are just happy and having this great time. And you go, in those moments that we've all been in, or I'm making an assumption, I know I've been there, it's like, why not me? Why not me? Well, we all have our version. We have our version. And I have to say, I have bought into the dream, the Madison Avenue advertising dream of, look at them. You can have it, you can be it, you can do it. And guess what? Each of us, each and every one of us in this room, we have our own version of magnificence. We are magnificent. We are gifted. We all are the attributes of spirit. So I invite us, all of us, myself included, to open up to our gifts, to open up to our attributes, to awaken to our own version, nobody else's, of magnificence. Because all the rest of it, I'm about to swear, all the rest of it is just BS. Because it doesn't matter. That's their magnificence. And it's up to us to say yes and celebrate that. Because then, guess what? We can celebrate our own magnificence as well. So every time that we are in one of those moments where we feel like we are cutting stone, cutting through marble, cutting through granite, when we feel that way, that's an invitation to go deeper. That's our opportunity to go within, dive in to our own truth, our own being, who we are, and to emerge again into our magnificence, into who we are. So yes, when you go up to bat, you might strike out. And then you practice the mechanics. We do our spiritual practices again. We meditate. We take our vitamins. If we belong to a 12-step, we go back to the 12-step. If we have to take medicine, we take our medicine. And we continue to practice the mechanics. And then we go up to bat again, and what happens? Maybe we strike out again, but we practice again. And then we maybe go up to bat a third time, or a fifth time, or 100th time. And that time, we might get a single. And what if, the 100th time we strike out again? This is a journey. And the journey is for each and every one of us to awaken to that which is within us. And it's not about being Michelangelo, because when he cut the marble, the David came forth, or the Pieta came forth. It is about cutting through those hardened parts of our inner being that are resistant to change, so that we can be the human, the spiritual person that we know is who we are. That's what's underneath all of this. So I invite us to awaken to the change that we are, to awaken to the version of love that we are. God works through us through an open channel. So as we give it a channel that is more and more open, as we let go of those hardened places, it only can say yes to what we accept within ourselves. So it's up to us. And we are here to connect. We are here to be love, to love ourselves, to love one another, and to love, and to love, and to love, and to love some more. Excuse me for being emotional. I love you guys.